It's Wednesday, July 5th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we have part one of our Tick Talk with entomologist Larry Dapsis. He has some great advice on how to avoid tick-borne illnesses. Then we're going to learn more about the new Discover Barnstable outreach program during our chat with Consumer Affairs Supervisor Elizabeth Hartsgrove. And finally, we'll check in with Finance Director Mark Milne. All of that on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. Assistant Director of Public Works Rob Steen receives a promotion to captain in the U.S. Naval Reserves. Steen is a civil engineer corps officer and has proudly served his country for 28 years. He was promoted Saturday, July 1st at a ceremony that took place on the USS Constitution at the Charlestown Navy Yard in Boston. Steen currently serves as the commanding officer of the Naval Reserve European Command J4 staff based in Stuttgart, Germany. Congratulations, Rob, and thank you for your service. The Growth Management Department is working to update the town's open space and recreation plan. The plan is used to identify challenges, potential areas of growth, and priorities for open space. Once approved by the Massachusetts Division of Conservation Services, the town will be able to qualify for state grants related to land acquisition. Residents can be a part of the update process by taking a quick survey. You can find the survey by visiting the Town of Barnstable's website and clicking through to the Planning and Development Department. The Water Resources Advisory Committee will continue work on the draft wastewater management plan. The committee will meet tonight in the Town Hall hearing room at 5 p.m. That meeting will air live right here on Channel 18. Well, up next, we have our Tick Talk with entomologist Larry Dapsis. So Larry, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. We're very excited to talk about some of these things because this is a very important topic matter, talking about ticks.
It certainly is. And
the prevention of ticks and what we need to know about ticks. So let's start first. There really is, you were telling me, there really is no time. A tick season is all year round. So exactly. From January to December.
Exactly. That's how I answer that question. Larry, when's tick season? Well, it starts in January, ends in December, picks up again in January. So anytime you get temperatures above freezing and a break in snow cover, you're going to have tick activity. And you see that in the data. There are cases of Lyme disease each and every month. But as we were talking about earlier, the summer months is when that thing really peaks.
Why does it peak in the summer?
Sure. It's due to the stage of the tick that's out here now. From last fall till late spring, we had the adult stage ticks out here. And they're larger and more easy to see. What came out a couple weeks ago is the nymph stage of the deer tick. And they're about the size of a poppy seed. So even if you're doing your tick checks and things like that, that thing can elude you. And that stage of the tick is responsible for 85% of all tick-borne illnesses.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is.
That's a huge chunk.
And they'll be with us until early August.
Wow. So let's talk about prevention, because I think that's the number one way that we can prevent or help prevent a tick-borne illness.
Absolutely.
Is prevention. So let's talk about what are the best ways to prevent getting a tick bite?
I don't recommend staying away from tick habitat, which we're surrounded by. I mean, you got to enjoy the outdoors. I mean, Cape Cod is a beautiful place to recreate and spend time. The number one tool in my box of protection is the use of permethrin-treated clothing and mission-critical treating footwear. And treating footwear is important because that nymph stage tick is down in a leaf litter. So the first place they attach to are your shoes. And what I found in doing my initial research with this product 6 years ago is that if you put a tick on a permethrin treated fabric surface for 60 seconds and then move it to something clean, on average that tick will be dead in 9 minutes.
Really?
And since I've been doing this protocol, I've not got a single tick bite in 6 years.
Wow.
Knock on wood.
Wow. Where can you purchase this? So you said permethrin treated clothing. So you can actually buy clothing treated with this. Can you buy a spray and treat clothing yourself?
Yes, you can skin this cat 3 different ways.
Okay.
All right, so you can go buy product and treat your clothing. I treat my footwear about every 3 or 4 weeks, and if you treat your pants and socks, it'll stay active through 6 washings or 45 days, whatever comes first. Biggest problem I had 6 years ago was finding the product on the Cape. Only Eastern Mountain Sports had it. And so I met with all the major garden centers on the Cape and convinced them to stock this product. And according to the store managers, product is flying off the shelf, which is really good. The word is getting out there.
When would we need to worry about using that type of treatment for our clothing? So let's say, in what situations? I mean, just if we're going hiking, do we need to worry about it at the beach? What kind of areas should we be concerned with?
Yeah, don't worry about the beach. And actually, let's not lose the pre-treated clothing thing. We'll just park that right here for a second. Research in Connecticut demonstrated that 2/3 of the people that were sending them ticks for identification got that tick from their own backyard. So ticks and gardening go hand in hand. It's not just going hiking in Nickerson State Park, which certainly there's plenty of ticks there, but there's plenty of ticks all over the Cape, quite frankly. And we've monitored infection rates. Now we're up to 5 different pathogens. So I wear permethrin treated clothing basically year round.
When you're outside?
I just wear it. That's what I wear.
Wow. Good to know. Treat that clothing. We can probably get it at garden centers around the Cape. Let's talk about the different kinds of tick-borne illnesses that there are, because there are some newer tick-borne illnesses.
Absolutely.
So we have babesiosis, Lyme disease. What else do we have to worry about?
All right, we're up to 5 different pathogens that these deer ticks can carry. So Lyme is number 1 by far and away. But we have babesiosis and anaplasmosis, which are both on the increase, and over 50% of the cases of those occur in southeastern Massachusetts, and they can be quite serious. Several years ago, we were told that there were cases of relapsing fever on the Cape. So we surveyed the tick populations, and yeah, we found it in about 2 to 4% of the ticks on the Cape. So it's out there. It's probably going to follow the same pattern of these other emerging diseases, kind of starting out in Cape Cod, and it's going to radiate outward. And then last year we did surveillance for the newest one, Powassan virus. And in our surveillance work, in collaboration with UMass Amherst, the tick testing laboratory, we found Powassan infected ticks from Falmouth all the way out to Truro. So it tells us a couple things. One is it's probably been here for thousands and thousands of years. It's just flown under the medical radar screen, okay? And the other thing is when we looked at the infection rates, which were in some cases fairly high, like 10%, it tells us that we have to look at this thing a little bit like West Nile virus. A number of people can be exposed to it and be completely asymptomatic. But in rare instances where it goes into neuroinvasive, that's when things get very dicey. It'll land you in the hospital. It's fatal in about 10% of the cases. And if you survive it, because you can't treat it, it's a virus, people that live through this end up with permanent neurological damage. So it's something we want to make people aware of. There's an exposure risk, but in our eyes, based on the data and the number of cases that actually occur, that risk exposure is fairly low. Okay, so it's kind of like getting hit by lightning. Most people are not going to get hit by lightning in their lifetime, but there are some few individuals where that will happen with a really bad outcome.
So let's talk about what to do if you find a tick. So if you come back from a hike with your kids, you're checking your kids, someone has a tick. How do you remove that tick first?
Sure, you just brought up an interesting point. Kids, checking your kids. An important fact for people to understand is that kids age 5 to 9 have the highest incidence rate of Lyme disease in the state. So we as parents, whatever we've been doing up to this point in time, is not working, okay? So we've got to rethink the game plan, really consider permethrin treated clothing and footwear, which has a huge safety margin, so parents really shouldn't worry about putting their kids in treated clothing. If you do find a tick on you, First, proper removal. You don't do the Vaseline thing or the dish detergent or the flaming match trick. I'm not sure whoever invented that, but dispense with all of those. It's pointy tweezers. That is the tool, not big fat tweezers, because if you crush that tick, you just might get a very nasty infection, okay? And so pointy tweezers, you just grab that tick by the head as close to your skin as you can get, and just gently pry up, and a little pressure, because the mouth parts on a tick have recurved barbs like fish hooks. That's why they seem like they're really stuck in there. So it will pop. And I tell people, save the tick. Save the tick. Don't flush it or throw it away, because now you have something that you can get some information on. We're recommending people send a tick to college. Basically send it to the Laboratory of Medical Zoology at UMass Amherst for testing. And once they receive the tick, you're going to get your report in 3 business days, guaranteed.
Wow.
And unlike the human blood tests for things like Lyme disease, this is 99.99% accurate, okay? So here's what it can do for you. Now you have hard data that if you know you were bitten by a tick and you're not feeling well, and now you're going to have a conversation with your doctor, you can tell your doctor that, hey, I was exposed to this potentially, and also this, and maybe even this, because we find a number of ticks are co-infected, meaning they're packing Lyme plus one of these other things. We've seen some tick reports that, you know, people test positive for all 4 of the major pathogens.
Wow.
Okay, so that's the thing we're looking at. So we treat this like hand-to-hand combat. You don't want to lose a single fight. So, and doctors are starting to embrace this as a legitimate diagnostic tool to kind of help them, because what do 2 of these things together look like as a clinical presentation, or 3, or even all 4? So now the doctor has some information that they can look at you and figure out, okay, these are the things I should be looking for you as potential treatment regimen.
Great advice. So this is happening at UMass, so you could actually send it to UMass. What is the cost to have a tick tested like this? It's like a tongue twister.
Yeah,
what kind of cost are we looking at?
It's not like the cost of tuition of sending a kid to college.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. A standard panel test for Lyme, Babesia, Anaplasma, and relapsing fever, normally it's $50. Through the support of Cape Cod Healthcare, we received a grant this year to subsidize the cost of that testing until the money ran out, which happened a couple weeks ago. So from January to a couple weeks ago, for Cape residents, it was $15. Now it's $50, and then you have to layer another $100 on top of that for Powassan. That's a fairly expensive test. So people have to make a decision. You know, the likelihood of it carrying Powassan is pretty low, so maybe the standard panel test is the one to go with.
But like you said, they could have comorbid diseases, so maybe getting that test, the first test that's not quite as expensive, would be good initially.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's, even at $50, I mean, the 15, that was basically for the price of a pizza. You're getting some really good data.
Right.
Now for $50, you're still getting some very useful data that you otherwise, the doctors would be guessing at you.
We're going to have part 2 of that conversation with Larry Dapsis tomorrow on the show. Now we're going to learn more about the Discover Barnstable program with Consumer Affairs Supervisor Elizabeth Hartsgrove. So Elizabeth, we're here at Bismore Park. So excited to talk about the Bismore Visitor Center. This is really exciting. This is something the town started taking over last summer.
That's correct.
So talk to me a little bit about what visitors or residents can find here at the Bismore Park Visitor Center.
Sure. We switched it up a little bit. It was actually more of a commerce type of mentality years ago. However, when we took it over, the town did, we wanted to emphasize town services and being able to provide to residents residents as well as visitors and guests that come to our community. So we promote all of the services that each of the divisions and departments offer, as well as the necessities of hotels and restaurants and other things that people are looking for.
So if you were a visitor and you were down here enjoying the harbor, catching the artist shanties, maybe meeting some artists, you could stop here and get some advice on where to go or what to do.
That's right.
Find out about some great programs in the town of Barnstable.
Absolutely. So, and it's not just in the town of Barnstable. We do promote other things. You know, there's people because of the steamship and the High Line, you know, people are going on the ferries to the island. So we do offer those types of information as well. So we just want to provide to anything that they want and anything they need, we've got it for them.
And this kind of, I feel like this is an expansion. You guys really started with some parking assistance, and you launched a Park Happy campaign. You guys got some new parking meters.
Parking meters, correct.
But, and you have staff here to help. So you have some Park Happy staff that can answer questions as well if someone's looking for a parking spot or need help using the meters.
Yeah, you know, 2 years ago we actually rearranged the job description. It was, like you said, it really focused on parking services. However, when we took a survey of what people needed here, it was actually not really the parking aspect of it, it was more the visitor services component. And so we rearranged the job description to really emphasize that and address that need. So, and as you said, it's just built on every year. We just add to it, and it's grown tremendously.
And speaking of additions, I want to talk to you about their new addition to this summer, which is a really fun interactive program for children and families right here at the Visitor Center.
Yeah, it's a new program that we've started in collaboration with the Arts and Cultural Coordinator, Melissa Hirsch, as well as the Natural Resources Director, Dan Horn. And it is it's a free interactive type of program for families of all ages. Anybody can come and participate. And it really emphasizes and, like I said, showcases all the services that we have to offer. So we have on Mondays and Thursdays, we have the services right here in front of our beautiful harbor. And we have natural resources coming to do demonstrations from Sandy Neck coming. We have the golf actually doing practicing their swings and things, and senior services doing hula, and yeah, it's a lot of fun what we have planned, and we have a beautiful brochure that gives you all the information that's available at both the town hall and at 200 Main, at all the town offices, and including also the Welcome Center here.
So excited about this. I know also you're going to highlight Natural Resource Officer Amy Croteau and her work, because she has been collecting some stuffed animals, and we shouldn't call them stuffed, but they are native to Cape Cod. So when you come, you can be learning about what's native here on Cape Cod. You mentioned Sandy Neck. We can learn about the ecology at Sandy Neck. So lots of great opportunities to learn more about Barnstable and what there is to offer here.
It is. It's really important to show that we have a wide range of services, and it's not what just people think of, you know, DPW and collecting trash, and that's where your taxpayer dollars go. It's actually protecting our environment. We're doing conservation programs. We're doing all sorts of things that people have no idea that we're doing, and that's the whole key of this new program, is to make people proud of the community and what the town employees do every day.
Let's talk about the town employees. So when you asked them to come and participate in this program, were they excited and ready to jump on board, or were they a little hesitant?
No, they actually were really on board with it, and we got a wide range, like I said, a wide range of services that we're promoting with each program each day. So it's completely different, and even Barnstable County is getting involved, and they're having the Coastal Explorer bus that's going to be here from 10:30 to 3:30 in July and also in August. And so I'm just so enthusiastic about what we're being able to offer this year.
So, you know, when parents are down here, maybe participating in the new program, they have a great place to sit out here. When did you add these Adirondack chairs?
The Adirondack chairs actually were an addition back in 2014, and they've been as you can see, even behind us, it's being utilized and enjoyed so people can sit and enjoy the view.
Well, it's such a lovely spot.
It's gorgeous.
I could sit here all day.
I know.
You know, also a great place for families to sort of relax. Parents can sit down. Yep. Maybe moms, dads could shop over there at the shanties, enjoy some artwork.
Yep.
And also, there's fun games. We have cornhole over here and some great fun photo taking.
Yeah, we actually, that's our new addition. Another new addition this year is the Cape Cod Cornhole, actually by our local Cape Cod Cornhole. So, and it's been utilized since we put it out on April 28th. It's actually been used every day. So, and we have directions. If nobody really is aware of how to play it, we have the directions in the Welcome Center so people can feel free to read through it and understand how to learn to play the game.
Awesome. I think it's such a great partnership too with the Hyannis Artist Shanties, because making this really a hub, like it is a hub. It is a hub of activity. People are taking the ferries and eating at restaurants, as well as shopping. How have you heard a lot of feedback from visitors about the shanties and if they like that?
Yes, they do. And it's actually that program is expanding, I believe, up beyond Asselton Park. So that's why it's been such a successful venture for the town, and it promotes our local artists. And it switches every week, so you can learn about and talk to these artists and see what they're doing and get a totally different perspective from each individual. It's great.
Exactly, and some locally made art that you can take home with you if you're a visitor, or maybe if you're a resident, a great place to get gifts. So really
very important.
Love hanging out. I don't know how I'm going to get back to work.
I know.
It's going to be hard to leave here.
I know.
Thanks, Elizabeth, for joining us today and telling us all that there is to offer here at Bismarck Park.
Thank you.
Our guest today, Elizabeth Hartsgrove. She is the Consumer Affairs Supervisor for the town of Barnstable. Joining us now live on the phone, we have with us Finance Director Mark Milne. Mark, of course, we discussed a week or two ago about closing out the FY17 budget. As we know, July 1st is, of course, the beginning of FY18, but there's still a little bit of work to do to close out that FY17 budget. Where do we stand as far as revenues and expenses go?
Sure. We have, of course, the final cash receipts coming in from up through June 30th. Those are all being processed now by the Treasurer's Department, making sure that everything reconciles with what we got deposited to the bank last week. And we have this week's payroll, which is tomorrow, which is all part of fiscal year 17, actually, because we pay a week in arrears. And that needs to get charged to next year's budget. So when we did our projections recently, on Monday, we looked at all the revenues and expenditures, and the good news is that on the expenditure side, all appropriations were met. We actually have returned appropriations in every area. Nobody overexpended their budget, which is typically the case. And we've had a good year for revenue collections in the general fund. We've exceeded all of our revenue estimates in multiple categories. However, some of the enterprise funds felt a little short in what looks to be in some of their revenue estimates for fiscal year 17. However, they have returned appropriations to cover those shortfalls. So in particular, the three enterprise funds that we saw that were a little bit short were the airport. Of course, the airport is struggling with passengers going through there and landings and associated activities with rental car concessions and things like that. So they're struggling to meet their revenue estimates, but again, they cut the budget on the operating expense side to make up for that. The other area was solid waste. We didn't see the revenue estimates being met there. However, again, similar to the airport, cuts to the operating expenses will provide for the shortfall in revenue there. And finally, the HYCC was just shy of what the revenue estimates was, not by much, but again, returned appropriations will cover that.
And explain to me what you mean specifically by returned appropriations.
So we appropriate a sum of money every year for everybody to operate their business within a certain expenditure level. If they don't spend all of that, that means they have savings. If we funded them at a certain level dollar amount, and then they didn't expend that total dollar amount, the difference between what they actually spent and what they were budgeted for ends up returning or going back into the fund balance for that enterprise operation. It's like a savings. It's like if you were given a budget of $50,000 and you only spent 40. You save $10,000. That's going to go back into your savings account.
Great. So really, it sounds like then actually some good news here as we close out the FY17 budget.
Yeah, it was a good year from a budgetary standpoint. We've always had a good, strong track record of budgetary management, and once again, every department managed to live within their means and actually generate some savings, and the revenues. We continue to see some growth in some areas of revenue, but not as much as we've been experiencing the past couple of years when things were really growing. I think we've reached that apex there where we've topped out as to what we can collect. For example, motor vehicle excise, that has shot up from at one point, which was just $6 million. It's up to about $7.3 million this year. Last year, we collected about $7.1 million. So there's a little bit of growth there. I don't think we're going to see much more growth than that. Beach stickers, again, a slight growth there, and beach parking revenue, there's a slight growth there. For the past couple of years, our beach activities have been very strong. I don't think they can get much stronger than they have been because our parking lots are full.
I was going to say, but judging from this past weekend when I went to the beach, I think we were at capacity there. Well, thank you for joining us, Mark. We really appreciate you giving us an update on all things that are happening in your division. We appreciate it. And we look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Our guest today, Finance Director Mark Milne. Now let's go ahead and find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. The Barnstable Town Band will perform tonight at 7 on the town green. That concert is free to attend. All you need to grab are a beach chair or blanket, maybe pack a picnic and enjoy the show. And speaking of live music, local singer-songwriters will perform every Thursday in July and August at the Hyannis Art Shanties. The performances will run from 6 to 7:30 every Thursday evening. This week, Palmer Egan will perform acoustic pop. To learn more about the Love Listen Local Singer-Songwriter Series and other activities, you can visit artsbarnstable.com. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show for you. On tomorrow's show, we'll chat with Town Manager Mark Els. We'll have part 2 in our TikTok with Larry Dapsis, and we'll chat with Town Councilor Will Crocker. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.